I've had so many requests for this video. People wanted to see Matt Steffen's hover rig underwater so they can see for themselves what's actually going on out there. Now, I based this video off of Matt's that he did several months ago that talks about 3 different retrieves, and they match up with his retrieve 1, 2, and 3. I've got the link to that video down below, so if you want to check it out, check about the pound test line, his rod reel setup, all that type of stuff is down below. You can head over to Matt's site and check it out. For this particular video, I have an 1/8 ounce hover rig jig head, and I put it on a 5-inch caffeine shad soft jerk bait. Let's go ahead and get started with retrieve number 1. So you go ahead and cast it out and let it sink on a slack line, and the first thing that you can notice is that this thing can glide forever. As a matter of fact, it was hard to film because it would glide itself out of frame so quickly, which is a good problem to have. It maintains that nice horizontal orientation, and sometimes it would have a nice big wide spiraling pattern on its way down as well. Now, for the second part of this retrieve, I went and moved to a little bit shallower water so we could see it really well. And so after the lure hits the bottom and it's down there on a slack line, go ahead and give it a couple quick pops and it will scoot along the bottom. And one key thing that I figured out here really quickly is that you need to have a good amount of slack line to pop it and maintain that low profile to the bottom so it has that nice low scooting action to it. You can see if I popped it with too much slack out of the line, or if my line was too tight, it would shoot up off the bottom more. So if you're looking for that low scooting action that Matt does talk about in his video, make sure that you pop it with enough slack in there. And I can see myself using this retrieve quite a bit. And one thing that I did notice, even with the open hook, that it rarely picked up any muck and debris, leaves and stuff on the bottom. They do have versions with weed guards available if you would prefer that, but I was impressed with that. Now, who knows, maybe the next time I go out, I might get a lot of junk off the bottom with it, but this time, at least I didn't. There are several different weights to the hover rig and different hook sizes, so you can kind of mix and match with what you like and the soft plastics you like to use and figure out what works best for you. Now, on to retrieve number 2, and this is the one that Matt calls hover strolling, where you really want to work a specific part of the water column. So once again, throw it out there, let it sink on a slack line until you get to the depth that you want, and then just start to retrieve it, a steady retrieve back. And I did a couple different things on that retrieve. I pulsed it very slowly, a lot like I would pulse a swim jig, and then I also used a lot quicker darting action with the rod tip, just a lot more bouncing, a quick bouncing action to it. And when the pulse is going on, you can see it's got a nice pulsing action through the water, and I filmed it both from the side and the front so you can try to get a good idea what is happening. But on this steady retrieve, when you give it a lot of quick little short pops with the rod, you can see it has a much more erratic action, that side to side type of an action, and I think it has some really good fish calling power to it, especially in a lot of the clearer water lakes that I like to fish. I see where this can really pull some fish up off of the bottom. Excited to try this one out, but in short, I think that you could do just about any swimming retrieve style that you prefer and like, and it's probably going to work out just fine, and you can dial in what you really want to do. But wide erratic action, quicker pops, slower pulsing, I did both of those. This is a retrieve I'm looking to use throughout the season. And on to retrieve number 3. This one is more of a tight lining type of retrieve. Throw it out there once again, let it sink on a slack line, but Matt talked about keeping the rod tip up. So when that slack runs out, it's going to pendulum back down. Now, a lot of us know with things like jigs and stuff like that, you know, we try to avoid that pendulum action because it just kind of kills what that jig does on the fall. So I was interested to see what this did, and when we take a look at it underwater, you can see right here when the slack stops and it starts to pendulum, that this rig maintains that nice horizontal position. Once again, you could really target a specific depth in the water column with this, and then once that pendulum action starts, you could go ahead and pop it, do whatever you want to it to impart some action, but just watch it when the slack quits, it just pendulums really nicely back towards you. So once again, this is a retrieve that you're going to have to experiment with and see what works out best for you. And hey, if you want to watch a video that talks about the 3 most important zones for bass fishing, go ahead and check this one out right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.